I feel like whenever I'm on the clock, I just have been passing on Miami Dolphins players. And maybe that's a personal bias because I think the offensive line isn't good enough. I think the scheme has been figured out a little bit, and Mike McDaniel has not shown the ability to adjust to that. Not to mention that, like, I think Tyreek Hill played poorly in isolation last year. And again, I'm gonna go like his reception perception results. It's not on the site yet. It will be on the site soon, but that was a pretty significant drop off from like not just some of his best seasons, his most recent Miami seasons, to what he was last year. And typically I have learned to just not bet on like bounce backs for older receivers. Like you can have a guy have a dip season and then come back if it's like in the middle of their prime. I mean, again, I'm going to quote you here, Scott, like when the cheese goes bad, it doesn't get unbad. And usually that is what happens here with these, again, aging players, especially a guy that's just got a lot of stuff, going on. And like a guy that you said, they start 2-5, you might want off the team. He wanted off the team at the end of last season and then kind of walked that back, And the Jonnu Smith part of it all is really interesting because when Jonnu Smith was traded, it felt like the entire fantasy industry reacted with, wheels up for Devon Achane on kind of schemed up targets, wheels up for Tyreek Hill again as a bounce back. Maybe Jalen Waddle can even get going again. And I actually think that Waddle can get going again, but I made this point a lot last season, Scott. The best stuff in Miami's passing game was the Jonnu Smith plays. Like he led the team, 64% success rate when he was targeted last year. That was 10% higher than Jalen Waddle at number 2. EPA per target, 0.51, which was the highest on the team among any of these other guys. Like those were really good plays. And now that dimension is gone, I think that might, like, I mean, again, maybe we just distribute it back to the wide receivers who they paid a lot of money to, or, then Devon Achane gets some of these really interesting receiving work that he did last year. But I don't know. That was a pretty big part of their offense last year as kind of a layup for Tua, and now it's just gone.
Is there, of the big three guys, right, of Hill, Waddle, and Achane, can you see any of them being even like a quasi-proactive pick for you?
I think that I'm fine. What do you think of Achane? Like, I don't know. I don't know why I can't like quite warm up to him at running back 7 and like a clear, kind of early second round pick. But it feels like the whole industry is totally behind Achane there. So I'm trying to like, and I don't know if this is right. Maybe my first instinct to just be like, I don't really want too much of this Miami offense. And maybe he's going to scam his way to a bunch of receiving production, but that I typically want more from that out of a first round running back, but maybe I'm wrong there. And from the receiver standpoint, I definitely am not drafting Hill where he's going. And I've just been more, if I'm going to take a Miami receiver, it will be Waddle. And I'll actually have those guys pretty closely ranked because I think the gap between them as players has closed at this point. Maybe the organization doesn't see it that way. That's just my personal opinion. So my answer to your question is not really at this point, but I'm trying to talk myself into it. So could you talk me into it, or am I right to kind of be avoiding this?
No, I think we probably line up pretty close here. If I'm going to shrug and take an ADP value, Waddle would be that guy. The thing with Achane is that I'm so driven to be volume heavy with my running backs, and I want easy touchdowns. I want, when my team just scored a touchdown from the 1 or 2 yard line, I want a path to that touchdown. And Achane is a low volume guy who hits home runs, and it's just generally not the way I invest in my backfields. I mean, look, we like 78-yard touchdowns. It's just a hard way to live, right? I mean, one of the fantasy questions of the year is, can Saquon Barkley average 29.4 yards per touchdown again and have a monster season without ever scoring from the 1 yard line? What an outlier year that was. It's crazy, man. All these statistical anomalies. But Achane is somebody who every game they go in thinking the gas tank is half full. You can never go full tank with Achane. They understand that. Although every once in a while they'll get in a game that's not competitive in the fourth quarter and they keep feeding Achane. I'm like thinking, what are you doing? This is not the time to use him. Save this for a rainy day when you're going to need him. But it's just not the way I build my backfields, is on a guy who is a limited touches home run threat.